There is a quiet moment that almost everyone has lived through, though few of us ever talk about it. It comes late at night, when the house goes silent, the phone is face down on the nightstand, and the noise of the day finally relents. Something shifts inside the chest. You lie awake and replay the choices you made this week, this month, this year, this decade, and a heaviness settles in that no sleep can shake off. That heaviness has a name. The word is regret. And if you have ever felt it, you already know something most people spend their whole lives trying to deny. Regret doesn't flicker and pass. It doesn't heal because you get busy again. It rides with you, growing older as you grow older, gaining weight as you gain years. Discipline, on the other hand, never feels like this. Discipline is loud in the morning, sharp around the edges, uncomfortable in the bones. But it ends. Every rep ends. Every early alarm eventually turns off. Every cold shower is followed by warm towels and the satisfaction of having done something hard on purpose. The pain of discipline is the pain of a muscle being built. The pain of regret is the pain of a life that wasn't. And that difference is the difference between ounces and tons. It's the difference between background noise and a thunderclap that follows you into every room. Most people misunderstand discipline because they confuse it with punishment. They picture the soldier forced into formation, the student hunched over a desk they hate, the person who wakes up before dawn and lives a joyless, mechanical life. That picture isn't discipline. That's barely controlled misery, wearing discipline like a costume. Real discipline is different. Real discipline is choosing, on a Tuesday morning with no one watching, to do the thing your future self will thank you for, even though your present self is begging you not to. It's the workout you finish when your muscles are already shaking. It's the budget you balance when you'd rather scroll. It's the conversation you have when you'd rather hide. It's the 1,000 small, unglamorous moments in which you honor a promise you made to someone who doesn't exist yet. Discipline, when you finally understand it, isn't cruel. It's the most loyal friend a future you will ever have. Here is the hard, honest truth. Your brain was never built to love discipline. It was built to love relief. Thousands of years of evolution wired every circuit in your head to chase comfort, escape threat, and grab whatever feels good right now. Psychologists call this present bias, the tendency to overweight the present moment and underweight the future. The reward of doing the hard thing comes later, faded, abstract, almost theoretical. So your brain does what any sensible machine would do. It chooses the path of least resistance again and again until the path of least resistance becomes a canyon. This is why the alarm gets snoozed. This is why the gym membership goes unused. This is why the project sits half-finished on the hard drive. Not because you don't care, because your nervous system has been hijacked by the immediate. And as long as you treat today's feelings as the only weather report, you will keep making weather-driven decisions in a climate that demands strategy. And the machinery is deeper than that. The reward chemistry of your brain lights up every time you give in. Every scroll, every snack you didn't need, every bill you postponed, every hard conversation you dodged, fires a small burst of relief. The brain logs that relief as success. It files the avoidance under the category of strategies that worked. So tomorrow, when the same situation appears, the brain doesn't even consult your higher goals. It simply runs the program. Skip, delay, distract. That is why changing your life feels so hard. You are not fighting the situation. You are fighting a year of neurological votes that have already been cast. The good news is that the same brain, given the right inputs, will rerun its programs. Every time you do the hard thing instead of the easy thing, every time you sit with discomfort for 1 extra minute, every time you keep the promise, you cast a new vote. And the more votes you cast in one direction, the louder that direction becomes, until the small voice of discipline begins to drown out the loud voice of relief. Now consider regret, the opposite force. Where present bias shrinks the future into a dot, regret enlarges the past into a stadium. Regret is the echo of every moment you traded your long-term chapter for a short-term mood. Researchers have spent decades studying what they call anticipated regret, the feeling of imagining yourself wishing you had acted differently. And what they have found is striking. People who vividly imagine future regret make better decisions in the present, not because they become perfect, but because they finally make the future real. They can feel it. They can picture a version of themselves looking back, asking, why didn't I just begin? Why did I stop? Why did I wait until I was too tired, too broke, too old, too embarrassed to try? When that imagined voice is loud enough, today's boredom or discomfort loses its power. Because now you are not just fighting a feeling, you are protecting a future identity. There is a famous body of work on delayed gratification that helps explain how this plays out across a lifetime. In a series of studies at Stanford in the late 1960s and 70s, children were offered a simple deal. They could have one marshmallow right now on the table in front of them, or 2 marshmallows if they waited 20 minutes alone in the room. Many of them caved in seconds. Many of them held the line. Years later, the researchers tracked those children down. And what emerged after following them into adulthood was a pattern that didn't just nudge the statistics, it bent them. The children who waited tended to have higher scores on standardized tests, lower body mass indexes, better stress responses, more stable relationships, stronger executive function. They had, in plain language, more of their life. Later replications and re-examinations added nuance, reminding us that environment and trust matter too. But the larger lesson held. The small act of pausing in the face of immediate pleasure is not a minor virtue. It is a multiplier on every other virtue. This is why the people who quietly build extraordinary lives look almost boring in the moment. They are doing the same things on Tuesday that other people only pretend to do on New Year's Day. They are reading when they could be scrolling. They are saving when they could be spending. They are rehearsing when they could be resting. They are practicing the conversation in their head before the conversation happens in their marriage, with their child, in the meeting that matters. None of this looks heroic. None of it makes a good story at dinner. And that's the entire point. Discipline isn't cinematic. Discipline is calendar work. It is showing up again tomorrow, not because you feel like it, but because you decided long ago that who you become matters more than what you feel right now. And the most underrated thing about discipline is that it compounds. Most people think of discipline as a single act, a heroic sprint, a moment of willpower to be muscled through and forgotten. That is wrong. Discipline is a savings account. Every small deposit, every early morning, every completed page, every conversation you didn't avoid makes the next one slightly easier. The first time you keep a promise to yourself, your brain records it as data. The second time, the data looks more credible. The 10th time, your brain begins to trust you. The 100th time, the action has identity. You are no longer struggling. You are simply being the kind of person who does this. That is the moment when discipline begins to look like talent from the outside. But inside, it is just a long, patient act of showing up, stacked on top of itself like bricks, until the structure is solid enough to live in. And what about the cost when you skip this work? That's where regret earns its weight. Let me describe regret at the end of a life, since most people only understand it in the rear view. Picture an older person sitting quietly. They are not desperate. They are not angry. They are something worse. They are resigned. They speak in soft sentences about what they almost did, what they might have started, what they planned to try one day, the dream they kept in the drawer, the book they never wrote, the business they never left the job to build, the apology they postponed until the person was gone, the body they wanted to strengthen before it began to fail, the conversation they rehearsed in the shower and never had. They say things like, "Where did the years go?" They say, "I always thought there would be more time." They say, "I was going to." And every sentence carries the same undertone. Not that life was impossible, but that life was avoidable, that the path was there, that the door was open, that they simply did not walk through it when their legs still worked. This is the thing nobody warns you about. Regret doesn't shout, it whispers. And by the time it speaks clearly, the hours it speaks about are already spent. The relationships it speaks about have already cooled. The body it speaks about has already changed in ways no discipline can fully reverse. There are some regrets that discipline can prevent. There are some regrets if you wait too long that no amount of discipline later, no surge of motivation, no dramatic comeback can ever fully undo. Time, taken in time, is the most generous currency the universe offers. Time, taken late, can still be useful, but it always costs more. This is not a warning meant to scare you. It is a warning meant to wake you up gently, in a chair, before you lie down for the last time and realize which chapters of your story you wrote and which you only imagined. Let me make this even more personal, because it has to land where you live. The regret waiting for you may not look cinematic. It may be the regret of having filled your body with something you knew was hurting it, decade after decade, until a doctor said a word you never wanted to hear. It may be the regret of having let distance grow in your marriage while you told yourself you were too busy to notice. It may be the regret of having stayed in a job that slowly turned your talents into furniture until one morning you woke up and could not remember what you used to be excited about. It may be the regret of having screamed at the people you love most because you were tired and you assumed they would always be there to absorb it. None of these regrets announce themselves. They build quietly, like interest on a debt you keep ignoring. By the time they come due, the balance is enormous, and the payments hurt in a way you were never prepared for. Discipline in relationships deserves its own conversation, because this is where most of the heaviest regret accumulates. We keep the budget, we keep the workout, and we let the people who matter most drift on autopilot. We stop asking real questions. We stop looking up from our phones when our child walks into the room. We stop saying the small thank you, the small apology, the small I'm proud of you. And then one day we look up, and the child is taller than us, and the marriage is colder than we remembered, and the friend we kept meaning to call has quietly accepted our silence. None of these losses were ever dramatic. They were 1,000 tiny surrenders, each one so small we barely felt them at the time. Each one the size of a daily decision to choose convenience over presence. Discipline in relationships is not exotic. It is unfashionably consistent. It is showing up, listening, repairing the small break instead of letting it calcify, saying the kind word when nothing dramatic is happening and there is no audience to perform it for. This is the discipline that erases the deepest category of regret, the regret of the people we loved but did not attend to. So if discipline can prevent so much, why do so few people practice it? Because discipline is not sold well. Society sells comfort as the reward for a successful life. Society sells the fantasy that the right morning routine, the right productivity hack, the right meditation app, the right vacation will finally let you have ease without consequences. It markets escape as if escape were a free good. Every advertisement on every screen is at some level a whisper. Don't work. Don't wait. Don't earn it. Just buy it. Feel it now. Be it now. And the cost of that whisper is paid by the future you, who never gets a vote in the transaction. Discipline is the act of saying, very firmly, no thank you to that whisper, again and again, until the whisper weakens into background noise. There is also a subtle trap about how we measure the pain. We measure the pain of discipline daily and the pain of regret yearly. This is why the comparison is so unfair and so dangerous. The discipline you skipped this morning, you will forget by dinner. The discipline you skipped 5 years ago is still shaping your body, your bank account, your marriage, your confidence, your identity right now. The alarm you snooze today feels like a victory over an annoying sound. The 1,000 alarms you've snoozed over the years feel like a life that never really woke up. That asymmetry of pain is the single most important thing to understand about this entire topic. Small daily discomforts are easy to overrate. Slow, heavy regret is easy to underrate, until the day it becomes a permanent roommate. There is one more trap worth naming out loud. We confuse inspiration for discipline. We wait to feel ready, and when the feeling doesn't come, we conclude that we are not meant for this. But inspiration is a weather pattern. Discipline is climate. Inspiration moves through you like electricity. It spikes and fades, often within the same hour. Discipline is the slow geological force that moves continents. It is not nearly as exciting, but it is the only thing that has ever in the entire history of human beings produced lasting results. So if you are waiting to feel something before you begin, you have already lost. Begin bored. Begin tired. Begin because nothing inside you wants to. Begin because beginning is the only move available. Then notice what happens. Action, no matter how reluctant, generates its own chemistry. The first 5 minutes are the hardest. After that, the body and mind catch up. There are a few powerful mindset shifts that move this conversation from theory into something you can actually use. The first is to attach discipline to identity, not outcome. Don't say, I want to lose 20 pounds. Say, I am someone who moves their body daily. Don't say, I want to save more money. Say, I am someone who respects their future. Don't say, I want to write a book. Say, I am a writer and today I write. Identity-driven discipline is sticky because every act of discipline is a vote for the person you are becoming. And every skipped act is a vote for someone you don't want to be. The second shift is to reframe discipline as freedom, not restriction. The person who manages their money is free from panic at 3 a.m. The person who trains their body is free from shame in the mirror. The person who practices their craft is free from the jealousy of watching someone else do what they once could have done. The third shift is to make the smallest possible commitment and keep it brutally. A 2-minute practice done every day for 66 days becomes harder to break than a bold romantic plan that dies on day 6. The research on habit formation backs this up. Small repetitions, repeated often, reliably become automatic until what once required willpower becomes something you simply do, like brushing your teeth. The fourth shift is to remove the optional. Decision fatigue drains the same mental fuel that discipline relies on. The fewer choices you have to make about whether to do the thing, the more likely the thing gets done. The workout that happens at the same time, in the same place, in the same clothes, has the easiest path through your day. The savings that move automatically have an even easier one. This is the magic of discipline on the back end. It looks like talent from the outside, it looks like luck, it looks like genetics, it looks like unfair advantage. But inside, it is mostly the residue of choosing the small, hard thing so many times that the small, hard thing became invisible. There is also a Stoic thread worth honoring here, because it is one of the oldest and truest observations in human philosophy. The ancient voices knew that hardship chosen is lighter than hardship suffered. They taught that discomfort is not the enemy of a meaningful life, but its raw material. They practiced what they called voluntary hardship, sitting briefly in the cold, going without a meal they were entitled to, walking further than they needed to, not because punishment brings virtue, but because comfort is greedy. If you never practice being uncomfortable, your comfort zone will quietly expand until your whole life fits inside it. And a life that fits inside your comfort zone is rarely a life worth remembering. The Stoics also reminded their students that we do not control what happens to us. We only control what we do with what happens to us. Discipline is the daily practice of that control. It is the commitment repeated each morning to author your own response instead of letting the world, your mood, your inbox, your algorithm, your last conversation do the authoring for you. Let me put this in another plain, everyday way, because you deserve language you can actually carry around. Imagine 2 versions of yourself, 10 years from now. One wakes up tomorrow and does the thing it knows it should do, even though it doesn't want to. The alarm goes off. They get up. They move. They study. They save. They call the person. They keep the promise they made to themselves, this time for real. The next thing they do, and the next thing, and the next thing, they compound. And one day, 10 years later, they are someone who lives in a body they trust, a marriage they didn't abandon, a craft they kept sharpening, a bank account they no longer fear. Not perfect, but real, built. Now imagine the other version. They sleep in, they skip, they appease, they say tomorrow, they say next month, they say after the holidays. 10 years later, they sit somewhere quiet and feel that familiar heaviness about the chest. They wonder where it all went. They wonder who they could have been had they started now, again, finally, for real this time. Except now is almost past. The difference between these 2 futures is not talent, it is not luck, it is not even intelligence. It is not a perfect childhood, a good job market, supportive parents, or the right body. The difference is the small, often painful, usually boring decision made in private, day after day, in the direction they wanted to go. If you are tired, hear me clearly. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not too whatever you've been telling yourself in the late hours when you feel the weight. You are simply standing in the doorway. What matters is which direction you step and what you do tomorrow morning, and the morning after that, and the morning after that when the next wave of motivation fades, which it will, because motivation always fades, but discipline chosen again does not have to. You can rebuild the body. You can rebuild the marriage. You can rebuild the craft. You can rebuild the bank account. You can rebuild the trust. The first rep is always the hardest. The second is easier. The third is not even a decision anymore. Here is what I want you to remember more than anything else. Pain is not optional in any life. Everyone's life carries weight. The only real choice is which kind of weight you are willing to carry. You can carry the clean, sharp, temporary weight of discipline, the kind that builds muscle, the kind that builds character, the kind that compounds into a future your present self can barely imagine. Or you can carry the heavy, sagging, permanent weight of regret, the kind that doesn't make you stronger, the kind that doesn't grow anything, the kind that teaches the same lesson, the same bitter lesson every time you feel it. Pick the pain now, while you still get a vote. Pick it on purpose. Pick it in small doses. Pick it before it picks you, in the large, crushing, late-night doses that no longer teach you anything except what you already knew. The discipline you avoid today becomes the lecture you cannot escape tomorrow. Let me leave you with this, because it matters more than anything else I've said, and I want you to carry it home. You do not have to feel ready to begin. You do not have to feel inspired. You do not have to feel strong. You only have to begin. You have to put the shoes on. You have to open the document. You have to save the first small amount. You have to speak the first honest word. You have to set the alarm, and then you have to answer it. You have to do the thing you know you should do while you are still the person who is capable of doing it. Because the longer you wait, the more you pay, and the less you get. The window where you can do the small thing now, easily, quickly, at low cost, closes slowly, then all at once, and when it is gone, the price of the same action goes up. So do the small thing now. Do it when it is still cheap. Do it when it is still light. Do it when it is still only ounces. Because the alternative, the one waiting at the bottom of years of postponed decisions, is not just harder, it is unwritable. You are not listening to this by accident. Something in you is hungry for a different life. Honor that hunger. Replace the soft promise you keep breaking with the quiet promise you start keeping. Let today be the day when the muscles of discipline begin, not with a roar, but with a single deliberate choice. Let tomorrow repeat it, and let the next day prove that you meant it. There is no audience for this except the future you, and that future you is already watching, already waiting, already wanting you to choose the heavier ounce over the lighter ton, the small clean pain over the big permanent pain, the disciplined life over the regretted one. Pick up the weight. Carry it proudly. Become someone you don't have to apologize to. And when it gets hard, and it will, remember why. Remember what you are building. Remember what you are refusing. Remember who you are refusing to become. Then take one more step, and one more, and one more, until the steps become the story, until the story becomes the life, until the life becomes the kind of life that, on the day you finally tell it to someone, doesn't end with "where did the years go," but with "I'm so glad I started when I did." Discipline is hard, but regret is harder, and the harder one lasts forever. Choose the right hard. If this message met you where you are, if something in this hit a nerve you didn't expect, take 1 minute and do something small for the rest of us who are walking this road too. Subscribe to the channel so this kind of work keeps showing up in your feed. Like the video so others who are tired of being tired have a chance to find it. And leave a comment with one discipline you are choosing. Starting today, the one small thing you refuse to postpone any longer. Your discipline, written in the open, becomes a little louder, a little harder to break, and a little more contagious. We are all one choice away from a different story. Make this comment that choice. Make this video part of why you started. And let us walk together, one clean, sharp, temporary ounce at a time, toward a life we will never have to regret.